Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody doing? How is everybody feeling? Welcome to a late night. Well, I guess it's not too late, but welcome to a later in the day Mojo Mondays. I honestly was not going to do Mojo Mondays today because I've been wrapped up in my studies. And of course, this happens every 2 to 3 years when you're going through recertification and whatnot. And yeah, just shout out to anyone who is continuing their education and diving into their passions and or creativity, whatever the case may be, to help you as a better person, of course, in your profession and personally, but also to help distract you in a healthy way. You know, healthy distractions are key. So that brings me to this video. There's been this, certain trends going around about, for one, a lot of people are becoming more self-aware within themselves, aware around other people. There are a lot of people who are just recognizing certain things and just coming into their own. So with that being said, what happens? They start exposing situations or people. And it's a beautiful thing to see because that's how you are getting your power back and evolving. It's a part of evolving. It's like you're shedding a lot of things while you are also growing a lot of things. We're like plants, so it's like you're shedding and you're growing all at once. So, but I wanted to come on here and encourage the thought of talking about the good things in our life, or especially the people, because yeah, we have people from the past who have done us wrong and stuff like that, and we have distanced ourselves from them. We have created boundaries within ourselves so we know how to better interact or not interact with certain people. But let's highlight the people in our lives who help us stay sane, and they hold themselves accountable and not just holding you accountable. It's a good, healthy exchange. And one of my favorite qualities about emotionally mature people, let's put that key word out there. They know why they're apologizing. I think it's important, especially as adults, you know why you are apologizing to someone. You're not just apologizing for the sake of, let me put a Band-Aid on it. I said the word, but you're not really acknowledging why you're apologizing. I think it's super important because when you do that, you are acknowledging the person and why they may or may not be upset. You're acknowledging the fact that you know what you did, and you know what you did was wrong, and you're owning up to it. I don't know, maybe it's me, maybe because I have trust issues, but I don't trust anyone that says, I'm sorry, or I apologize. I'm gonna look at you and I'm gonna be like, Anne, I'm sorry for blah, blah, blah. I apologize for blah, blah, blah. Now, maybe because I'm that way, I'm going to acknowledge what I did. If you bring something to my attention, I'm like, you know what? That was my bad. I did not mean to do blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to sweep things under the rug. And, and the thing about it is that, honestly, a lot of people, they are wired a certain way where it's like saying the words I'm sorry for or I apologize for. It's like they are allergic to that. Like their brain goes through this type of reaction, and their brain just turns into like that one emoji thing, and they just get so it's like they can't say it. you know. And then I know back in the day, I used to have a really bad habit about doing this as an empath. It's almost like people would apologize, I would fill in the blanks for them. Like I would coach them through it. And, you know, I look back at that like, man, like that's sickening. That's sickening. It's annoying because it's like I know, I think I know where you're getting at, but do you know why? You know what I mean? And that's the thing. A lot of us who are caring individuals, we know, but you can't really coach someone. This is not traits that you can really teach someone. They have to be willing to teach that or awaken that skill, which, you know, a lot of the times is not going to happen. Because there's just certain skills that people don't have. Some of the skills can be taught. Some of the things is just a part of your personality. And without acknowledging, that's a really hard thing to do. If you can't change anything you don't acknowledge. So if someone is trying to apologize or they say sorry, and, you know, I don't mean to be rude, but my thing is, I might ask, like, do you know why? Let's make sure we're both on the same boat. Like, do you know why you're apologizing? You know, so, but yeah, shout out to those people who, you know, at the end of the day, none of us are perfect. But if you are not egotistical and you are self-aware to the point where, hey, you know, you're not perfect, you're not trying to put up a front or anything, and you are sincere about your apology and you know why you are apologizing, you know, because at the end of the day, a lot of people fail to realize is that relationship that you have with that person, whether if it's a friend or whatever, is it important to you? Or is it important that you hold hands with your pride and sweep things under the rug like nothing happened and just not acknowledge what you did? You know, sometimes depending on what that person did, it can be a hard pill to swallow. But I know for me, because the level of respect I have, not just for myself, because I will hold that same quality to someone else. As far as the respect I have for myself, I'm going to respect the other person too. And if I needed to own up to something, I'm going to do it. You know, no doubt about it. But I'm not going to own up to something for the sake of making someone's ego better. I'm going to own up to it because I value the relationship and I know what I did was wrong. So with the other person, if you're not acknowledging what you did and you would rather hold on to your super ego and, you know, take what you did and just act like nothing happened, then you really can't get mad at the other person for not accepting an apology, because I look at it as an empty apology. The apology is not, it's not holding on to anything. It's empty. There's nothing in there. Like, why is that apology there? So yeah, you know, those of you who own up to your shit and you're just like, hey, you know, I messed up, you know, shout out to you. Because like I said, nobody is perfect. We need to throw that out the way. You know, we're human. We are going to react. Some people react differently than others. Some people don't react, and that can cause a reaction with other people and vice versa. Like, it, you know, we're human, and whatever we do is not going to be seen perfect in someone else's eyes, but you can at least acknowledge if you did something wrong, if someone was hurt by it and you put someone in harm's way. I mean, again, it's the compassion, right? So shout out to those who still have that level of compassion that you're holding with other people and not just for yourself. So another thing is people who are they're trying something new. We get into these routines, and I say this all the time. Everything we do is a practice. Everything we do is a practice. So sometimes in my post, you'll see me, or on my caption, I'll say, "What are you practicing today?" Because ultimately, the more you practice anything, that's how you're creating habits. So when you want to become a better whatever, if you want to become a better dancer, you practice. If you want to be a better cook, you practice. You know, if you want to be a better reader, you practice. So there's all these things, a lot of things that we do intentionally or not intentionally. You know, like if we're sitting down watching TV, everything's a practice. So again, just being intentional. My heart goes out to those who are trying new things. And again, with the state of the world, and there's so much negativity going on, I want to shout out those who are, they're being intentional with who they are. They're being intentional with their time. They're doing a lot of reflecting. I know I've been doing a lot of reflecting, and that's why I've been trying to be consistent with these videos and podcasts. Because it, like, for one, since I'm like back in my studies, it brings me back to the college days where, you know, you're working and going to school, and there's so much stuff going on, and you're evolving. You're shedding a lot of things, but also growing. So whenever you're doing anything new and putting yourself out there, regardless of what it is, if it's a new job, a new hobby, new activity, whatever, you know, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a big or small thing, but I think people who are trying new things, you know, you deserve more credit. And like I said, because there's so much negativity going on, I think it's important that we lighten it up a little bit. You know, just lighten it up a little bit, because it's getting crazy, okay? But it's important that you're being mindful of the things that you're doing, and you're taking good care of yourself. And whenever you're taking good care of yourself and you're filling your cup, you're going to have the capacity to do that, and you're going to have that energy where it's magnetic. You know what I mean? It's that magnetic feel good energy, because you're filling yourself up with that good energy, whether it be affirmations, whether if it be trying something new. And yeah, you know, shout out to y'all. So another thing, let's do one more. I am wanting to shout out those who are getting back into their whimsical. I have been seeing that a lot too. So not just seeing these trends of people bashing other people, but there are people who are getting back into their whimsy. And I love to see that. I love it. I feel that I can relate to that a whole lot, because I like to consider myself a big kid at heart. And honestly, it's really what helps me. So if you know someone who is on the ADHD spectrum, or they're super creative, and you know, I feel no matter the age, the dopamine is really important. So, I mean, there's all these other things that's important too. For me, it tends to definitely be the dopamine. And like I said, you know, being creative and having some type of outlet. So, I like to watch cartoons. And when I see other people, especially those who may be older than me, I will be 40 this year. So I've seen pages floating around where people are in their 50s or 60s and they are enjoying the same cartoons that I enjoy watching, or they're doing whimsical stuff at the park and they're having picnics and they're going to the movies, and a lot of these things they're doing by themselves. They're not with huge company or anything like that, and sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But I say all that to say, don't lose that magic touch that we all have. I find that it's super important. Again, it's super important to connect with yourself and escape. Have a healthy distraction, have a healthy type of escapism where you're able to do nothing but enjoy that nothing of what you're doing. So if you're going to the park doing nothing, meditating and doing nothing, it really helps. You are rewiring your brain. You are allowing yourself to be present. You are calming your nervous system, and you're getting more comfortable with yourself. There are a lot of people who are not comfortable being by themselves. And my thing is, how can you make others feel comfortable if you're not even comfortable with yourself? How can others be comfortable around you and you are not comfortable with you? You know, it's okay to sit down with yourself, sit down and connect with your feelings and partake in some whimsical activities. You know, frolic in the park. I do it all the time with my dog. Like, we'll go to the park. She loves to chase the squirrels, and I'll just watch her chase the squirrels, which for me is very therapeutic to watch. If you follow me on my Instagram or my Facebook, you definitely see some videos of Foxy, my weenie dog, running around at the park. There's times where I'm coloring, you know. Get out a coloring book. This coloring book is anxiety relief coloring book for adults that I purchased from Amazon. I'm working on this current page, and this was my first one, you know, and have fun with this. So sometimes when I'm doing this, it'll be in between my studies, so my brain gets a break, and you know, it just feels good. You get to decompress. Your brain, everything takes a break, and then you go back, study or work. Because that's something I used to do too when I worked at HealthNet, when I used to do like suicide calls and like case management. I would have all these different gadgets and stuff. Like, I have little things like this. You know, don't be afraid to cater to your inner child. That's the whole point of being whimsical. As we get older, a lot of people lose that. They get serious with life. Life gets more serious. But see, that's exactly what I'm saying. If you get more serious with life, your life will become more serious. So find a way to have fun. Find a way to lighten up a little bit. You know, we don't have to make life as serious as it already is. There's already a lot of stuff that we don't have control over, that we're all trying to work the kinks out and stuff. But at least in your inner world, you know, you can make up for that. You can have a rich inner world, and I don't mean rich by materialistic stuff. I'm talking about rich with the feelings, the feel good, the things that keep you going, the things that when you look around you feel motivated, and the things that make you feel like you. And how are you going to know what that is if you don't sit with yourself, you know? So shout out to those who are connecting with themselves by being more whimsical, and they're not being shy about it. They're being them authentic selves, and they are embracing the inner child that we all have. We all have our inner child that's still in there. So yeah, so shout out to everyone that is on this path of growing and evolving in different ways and spreading that love and energy. And like I said, it's not that it's anything wrong with different trends going on, because obviously we're all going to perceive things differently, and we can all learn from each other. But of course, you know, I want to be, you know, uplifting. I know some of my stuff can be a little heavy at times too, you know, but I just want to lighten the mood, you know, a little bit, you know, for the self-care, motivational Mondays, Mojo Mondays. So I'll talk to you on the next video or podcast or however you're listening to this. Thank you so much for tuning in, and you enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.